So I've taped off the stringer before I seal the blank because I want the stringer to show in the final surfboard. So now I'm ready to seal the blank. So I've mixed my epoxy with the hardener. I've stirred it up well. Then I added the glass bubbles and a little bit of blue pigment, which will help mark where the epoxy sealer has gone down so I don't miss any section of the deck. So I'm just going to pour out my resin and use my hard yellow plastic squeegee to move the epoxy around to seal the blank. So I'm pulling pretty hard with my squeegee to remove all the excess filler. So after I put down my first layer of epoxy glass balloons, let it dry, and then I sand it with a sanding block and 50 grit sandpaper. And then I brushed on a thin layer of acrylic latex interior house paint. It would happen to be green in this case. And after that dries, any unevenness in the epoxy sealant, any pits or wells or scratch marks will be apparent after painting. You can see various areas here. So what I did is I've gone over the entire bottom of the board with the 50 grit sandpaper to roughen it up. And I'm going to apply another layer of epoxy micro balloons with my squeegee. And pretty much this is necessary. With a single coat of sealer, you're not going to get a smooth enough finish. And the problem is after you paint it and then you glass over it with the cloth and clear resin, any unevenness or defects in the colored sealed blank is going to show right through the transparent cloth, and it's not going to look very professional. So you really have to work pretty hard to get this pigmented sealed blank to look flat and even over the entire bottom of the board. So here I pretty much finished the bottom of the board. I have a nice green painted coat. It looks uniform throughout the entire bottom of the board. And it's really smooth. There's no high areas. There's no pitting. It looks good. One of my yellow squeegees after I've used it once, and if I just flex it, these epoxy segments will come off for the most part. And then what I can do is I can run the squeegee edge along a piece of sandpaper to get it perfectly flat and get any rough texture out of it. This is really important. If you have any roughness in the edge, it's going to grab your fiberglass cloth during lamination and pull it away from the foam, and that's no good. And then you might have some wiggle in the edge along its length, and you want to get rid of any wiggle. The blade needs to be perfectly flat. So what I'll do is I'll heat the squeegee up with my heat gun until it's really soft, and then I'll press it down onto a cold surface, a flat cold surface, and let it cool, and that'll leave the edge perfectly straight. And then it's ready to go again. Yeah, another option for sealing the blank is to use a light spackling compound. I'm using this Red Devil one time. And you dilute it with a little bit of water until it has the consistency of mayonnaise. And apparently it's important to use distilled water. If you use tap water, it can turn brown over time. You just squeegee it on with your plastic squeegee, let it dry for about an hour or two, and flip it over and do the bottom. And then after it dries overnight, you can hit it with a sanding screen and smooth it out. And you might have to go back over some rough spots with an additional bit of spackle just to fill any foam that hasn't been filled completely. I would say this is easier to do than the epoxy glass bubbles, but I've heard in some circles that you can get delamination of the fiberglass skin. But I talked to Greg Lohr at Resin Research, and he says this is not really a problem. He's never had this happen much. So I don't have a lot of experience with these two methods, so I can't really give you my recommendation. But having done both, the light spackling is a lot easier to do.